The Federal Reserve cut interest rates for the third time, and some experts think there's no need for additional stimulus before 2020. Yahoo Finance's Brian Cheung had the chance to speak with Chicago Fed President Charles Evans. He's with us now. Where does he fall on the dot plot? Do we know?
Well, we know that he supported all three of the Federal Reserve rate cuts this year. We know that because he's actually a voting member of the FOMC, so we know whether or not he supports or dissented against any of those decisions. He supported all three of those. But the big looming question is, when is the Fed going to move next? The indication early on is that they're kind of on pause for right now. But I wanted to ask him directly, as a voting member of the FOMC with one more meeting in 2019, what does he see as the next move? And here's what he had to say.
It's just sort of a mid-cycle correction because, I don't see that we necessarily have to cut rates more. We'll see how the data come in. We're at a 1.5 to 1 3/4, percent point. And I think that'll serve us well, but we want to see how the data play out.
So your district covers Michigan, the lower half of Wisconsin, Iowa. So you have a good view of the manufacturing sector through the first two states and then through farming in Iowa. So what are you seeing in terms of the impact of the trade war? There's this phase one deal on the table right now. Have you seen that maybe that's inspiring some to make the investments that we've seen lagging in the past few quarters?
We've got Indiana, Illinois, too. And so we've got, a healthy amount of automobile manufacturing, auto supplier network. We've got heavy equipment manufacturing on the western part related to construction equipment, agricultural equipment, and things like that. So definitely the tariffs have hit the ag sector quite a lot. I think that the additional support payments to the farmers has been helpful for their farm incomes, but I don't think it's changed their attitude enough towards buying, that additional farm implement for the next year. People are doing what they have to do, of course, but I think that that's, sort of been definitely a downward risk for that side of it.
So the key phrase from Charles Evans, again, the head of the Chicago Fed, saying, I don't see that we necessarily have to cut rates more. So that's a pretty good definition of on pause for right now. On the trade front, he said that on the manufacturing and on the agricultural side, it seems like things are not really changing the behavior in his district as well. So even though we were having that phase one deal in discussion day after day, it seems like people aren't putting money back into fixed investment, which might show maybe some bias for possible further cuts in the future. But again, Charlie Evans saying, I kind of want to see how the data comes
Just a quick question. Did he mention anything about last year? Because for me, the Fed moves this year was about undoing a policy mistake from last year. And to his credit, they've actually done it, and they fixed the problem.
Yeah, he was actually very humble in saying, I had penciled in 3 rate hikes for 2019, which means that following through on 3 rate cuts this year is a total aggregate of 150 basis points
never seen him move
of reversal. That is a remarkable change. But he said that that was ultimately necessary to combat what is the 2 big things that the Federal Reserve has cited for needing these cuts, which is the geopolitical tension abroad, things like Brexit, things like slowing down in China, and then secondly, the U.S.-China trade negotiations. Those are 2 things that kind of happened very suddenly between 2018 and 2019. But he said, I think for right now, this is the right policy. 3 rate cuts.
All right. Our own Fed head, Brian Cheung, thanks for being here. I like to nickname you that. So.
I like that too.
Hey investors, Zach Guzman here. Are you interested in learning more about the markets and getting the latest financial news? Well, then click right here to subscribe to our Yahoo Finance YouTube channel. Get the latest up-to-the-minute market analysis, big interviews in the world of finance, and information on how to manage your money every day wherever you are.